Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Marion County Commission meeting Monday, August 17, 2026, 12:30, starting with public forum. Anyone wish to address the commission?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I am Brandy Smith, a member of Marion County Planning and Zoning and the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm here today to speak about the Code of Conduct and Conflicts of Interest guidelines that were presented to this board at last Monday's meeting. I do not recall a specific request to develop a potential policy that would only affect the Planning and Zoning Board. However, with obvious conflicts of interest throughout this county government, I find it inexcusable that a voluntary citizen board would be the aim, when you have not applied the same ethical scrutiny to all paid and unelected staff that this policy attempts to apply to appointed volunteers. With that said, this draft was written in an attempt to, quote, ensure decisions maintain public trust and strictly conform to Kansas law. The law to which it's referring is KSA 75-4301A and 75-4304A. In addition to these statutes, the Kansas Governmental Ethics Commission has issued formal opinions that clarify what is not a conflict of interest under these statutes. Opinion 2008-06, members of a county planning commission act in an advisory capacity only and are not required to file disclosure statements. The commission explicitly recognized the advisory nature of planning commission service. The remedy for conflict of substantial or financial interest is abstention, not disqualification from service, not removal from the board, and certainly not a gag order on knowledge or expertise. A county policy cannot impose requirements the State Ethics Commission has expressly rejected. I believe this is a veiled attempt to disqualify, intimidate, and silence members of the board. Kansas law does not recognize, quote, appearance of conflict as a legal standard for local government officers. The statute defines substantial interest with a dollar amount, percentages, and specific relationships, not subjective impressions. When you attempt to use one's personal knowledge or skill set against them because it could be deemed a, quote, appearance of unfairness, you have replaced an objective standard with a subjective weapon that can be used to disqualify anyone the administration disagrees with. As a planning and zoning board member, my job is to hear from the people I represent. If a constituent calls me with a legitimate concern about a potential development, that does not constitute a conflict on my part. An important part of my job is to be the voice of the people, to ask questions and to bring their concerns into the public conversation. This is precisely how we can, quote, ensure decisions maintain public trust. In previous years, it has been standard practice for the planning and zoning director to attempt to manage this board, to ensure that, quote, staff controls the flow of information received, keeping with the established narrative to achieve their desired outcome. In January of 2026, that all changed. No longer will this board be a rubber stamp for administrative overreach or backroom deals. This is an independent citizen board of the people, serving by invitation and at the pleasure of our county commissioners. We are called to be diligent, dedicated, and determined to honest and objectively evaluate the information that we receive. It is also our job to research and educate ourselves on the matters before us, as well as the inner workings of this county and its governance. Thus, when we are called upon to give recommendations, we can make informed, educated decisions that we hope you will find helpful. Today, I am asking you to recognize that knowledge, experience, and community connection are not conflicts of interest, but in fact qualifications. You did not appoint us to be ignorant. You appointed us to be informed. I ask that you reject this illogical display of nonsense and simply follow and enforce the existing law as it stands. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Anyone online? Doesn't appear to.
Was there anyone online?
Alicia Weiser, Gossel, Kansas. Conflict of interest guidelines from last week. Not that I'm concerned that you would even consider passing this, but because I want to point out the single most relevant piece of information that it conveys. A few weeks ago, a department head sat in this seat and they said, when they didn't like what they heard, they said, then I don't know why we have a planning commission. This document is the legal extension of that conversation. It's not what you asked for. This document is a petulant child saying you can't tell me what to do. How dare you make me do something I didn't want to do in the first place? It thumbs its nose at your authority. It's a complete and utter disrespect to you as the men who are elected to run this county. Paragraph 3 completely redefines the actual Kansas state definition for conflict of interest, and it equates a personal interest to a conflict of interest, as if it's the exact same thing. Every single person on planning and zoning, past, present, and future, has a personal interest in our zoning laws, and thank goodness for that. It's why they read the book, it's why they understand our rules, and it's why they volunteer their time. I want you to understand not a single person in the whole of Marion County would qualify to be on your planning board if you pass this. The wording is intentional. This document lays in submission at the feet of that department head from a few weeks ago. A poorly written legal document costs a county more money to defend than a well-written one. This document could easily leave this county in a legally indefensible position. Again, just like you were in December, January, when you were told that 3 plus 3 plus 3 definitely equals 12. And it might even equal 15 if I can convince enough of you to vote for it. It's interesting to note that the same 3 people were involved in that debacle. It's important to remember that we ended up with this because of a refusal to enforce actual conflict of interest standards, insubordination. I hope you can see that it's time to rein in the complete lack of respect directed at this board. You want to know why citizens don't trust you? Some of your own employees disrespect you to your face and you do nothing. It wouldn't hurt to have a backup lawyer look through this, just to expose the lunacy that it contains. You can pick up one from the list, but there again, you made that request 6 or 7 months ago and you still haven't received it because that county employee refuses to do what you've repeatedly asked, insubordination. Insubordination runs deep in this room. And the only reason that it continues is because you haven't yet taken back your authority. You are tasked with hiring people who honor and serve this county and this commission. The good news is, this problem is absolutely, completely, and totally fixable. And you men exclusively have that authority to fix it. Nobody else. But you're going to have to step up, make some hard decisions, and take your authority back because these employees don't respect you. And everyone can see that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just want to introduce myself, stranger in the room. I picked a good meeting to come to, I can see already. My name's Michelle Ediger. I'm running for Kansas State House District 74, and I'm just here to meet people and learn what's happening.
Thank you for stopping by. Anyone else? If not, we'll close public forum and go ahead with the agenda approval. Any additions, changes to the agenda?
Excuse me, EMS will not be here today.
Okay, we'll strike that. Any other changes or additions? I'll make a motion to approve of the agenda of striking the 1245 EMS direct report.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Okay. Administrative?
Alright. First, we have early checks in the amount of $18,388.12.
Any questions on the warrant?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Motion to approve the warrants in the amount of $18,388.12.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Commissioner Dirks. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
4.
Okay, I laid the minutes down on your desk for August 10th and August 14th. I'm not sure if you want to approve those today or wait till next week to approve those.
Commission had time to look at those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve August 10th.
Okay. Second. Moved and seconded by Commissioner Hall. Any other discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
And then,
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of the August 14th, 2026 canvas.
How do we handle that for sure? Since two of us, we only had 2 members there.
I checked in with my appointee, and it matches up.
Yeah.
So,
There was just one misspelling there on my name.
I can get that fixed before you sign it.
Okay, we'll approve it as is. So your motion's still on the table, or Clark's?
yeah, second.
Second. Moving second by,
He seconded.
He seconded it, yeah.
right. Any other discussion on the canvas? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just one quick question, have all those results been posted to the website as final?
No, we have not posted this to the website. We will do that today. One last thing for you. The Purple Heart signs, we have 3 more that still need to be posted. You guys had mentioned on 190th, Sunflower and Indigo. Road and Bridges needing to know where exactly on those.
Some of the discussion I had with Commissioner Dirks, and we talked about on 190th at the Canada corner, one on Sunflower south of Marion, close to the county line, and also one on Indigo south, close to the county line. Am I correct?
That was my understanding of this discussion.
Any discussion on that?
Good place as any. I move that we move forward with that recommendation.
My only one other comment is I would like for the Marion County Record to do a second photograph at the county lake, because they took a photo of before it was even unveiled. So if they could make that change, we'd appreciate it.
That will be conveyed.
I think County Councilor is recommending that a resolution be done for the specific placement of the signs.
Okay, are we specific enough?
The resolution will be more specific.
Probably be more specific in that.
Noting a crossroad.
So I'll withdraw my motion and
I mean, it's,
leave it as a directive for a resolution to be made up for those 3 locations.
So
I don't know that you'd have to withdraw it, could still stand, and then the resolution be drafted based on the generalities that you raised.
And I'll move forward with the recommendation.
So we have a motion to go ahead with drafting a resolution for placement?
Second.
Or do we need to go that far? Just a directive enough?
Directed because the resolution is going to be what's
Okay.
going to place them.
Okay.
So our motion is to go ahead with the suggestions and create a resolution.
If I can get a second, so it doesn't die.
Everybody's square
I'll
on where
second
we're at.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Don't want Nicky to, you know, he's supposed to come get you.
Somebody bail me out, come on.
That's all I have.
Okay, I did have a report in your packet. Does anybody have questions about anything on the report? Or the accompanying information to it? One thing that I,
Are they done with the stream bank stabilization on 90th?
Yes.
I was up there on Saturday and it looked like they had a bunch of rock work done. I didn't know if that was completed.
I had not heard anything today about it, so I knew that.
At least it appears to be done.
It
They
appeared
have,
to me that
they have stockpiled a bunch of the dirt and that they had to take out of the stream bank when they placed that riprap in there. So I'm not sure if that, I'm guessing that's just county stockpile at this point.
So the last report I had was that they were moving over to that location to do that work, and so I will know. I meet with Road and Bridge on Wednesday typically, so I'll have that.
Anyway, they moved all their equipment out. So
I said the rocks were there, there's no equipment there. I would assume it's probably done.
Yeah, I would assume so also, but I will confirm that when I talk to Road and Bridge this week, and that'll be on your report in the packet next week. Any other questions? One thing that I didn't get in your report was a follow-up. I had it, but I forgot to include it, and that was Commissioner Dirks, you had requested a follow-up about what work was being done on the turbine where that temporary turning radius was installed, and that they're replacing a gearbox. That's what they're doing on that. Okay, and
Any other-
then,
didn't mean to cut you off.
no, that's okay, I thought maybe you had something else
No.
to say. So in the packet was the request for proposals for audit services, that's a draft. I did update the timeline. Initially, we were gonna do this a little bit earlier, but every auditor, basically it was in the middle of budgets at that time, so this just has basically it's just a little bit refined and has a new timeline. And so if you don't have changes or if you're ready to move forward, then we can issue that today.
Any discussion? I'll make a motion to go ahead and with the RFP for audit.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Commissioner Gary. Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Okay, we will get that out. I do have an action item in your packet, which is for guardrail work at a couple of locations. There is a purchase allocation request in the packet. We did, Road and Bridge did seek bids from several contractors, only one responded. And the amount for the guardrail work is, let me find the right page.
$47,646.
Thank you. And my recommendation is to go ahead and approve having that work completed.
Discussion? Or motion?
I make a motion to proceed with bid for Cardrug Construction, Cardrug repairs on Clover and Camp.
Motion on the table to approve the bid.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded by Commissioner Benke. Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And in your packet, I have the solid waste management plan that Josh presented last week. That way you had it, and so you could read it and the changes in there. And
Commission had time to review the solid waste plan.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the solid waste plan for, how many years was that?
It updates. We do it every year. It's just a 5-year plan.
5-year plan.
We always
approve it every year.
Every year.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Garrett, seconded by Commissioner Dirks to approve the solid waste plan. Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
okay, since EMS isn't gonna be here, you do have the statistics in your packet for their runs. So I just thought I'd reference that, and that is all that I have for today.
The reports are in the packet.
Very bottom.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and, Krista's here, so we'll go ahead with the 1 o'clock health department update.
I was wondering, could we go into executive session for personnel discussion about the health department? Could we do that now and then do the report?
How long do you need?
Personnel perform,
5-10 minutes.
Yeah, let's do
for
10
personnel
minutes.
performance.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Tim, how long do you need, Krista?
Just 10.
10 minutes? Okay, I move that we recess an executive session in order to discuss the job performance of specific employee pursuant to KSA-431-9B under item number 1 for personal matters of non-elected personnel with the board, Krista, Brad, and Tina until 1:02 with open session to resume back in the commission chamber. All in closed session.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's back on.
Okay, out of executive session, no action taken. Go ahead with your regular report.
The last time I met with you all was in May, and so I'm just gonna kind of hit some of the high points. The community outreach and education on June 12th. We had 3 commissioners and 4 health department staff members that attended the KDHE Tulsa Public Health Training at the health department meeting room. On June 18th, the health department hosted the Marion County Breastfeeding Coalition meeting in the conference room, or meeting room. Lynette Hebert, who is our breastfeeding peer counselor for WIC, also serves as chair of that. And on July 17th, the health department, who is the lead agency for Safe Kids Marion County, hosted the Safe Kids Family Night in Hillsborough. You should also have a report on that Safe Kids Adventure Night. It looks like this. And we had 66 children that attended that event, and there were 40 adults and 40 volunteers that attended that event. And we really appreciate all of our partners that come out and help with that too, and have tables and lots of good safety information and community resources that were distributed to families at that event. Also at that event, we gave away 15 medication storage boxes. So those are lock boxes for people to lock their medicines up so children can't get a hold of them. There were 10 helmets distributed at that event, and 5 life jackets, and 2 vape lock boxes. So vaping is becoming a really big thing, a big issue, and we want to make sure that kids aren't getting hold of that as well. And Taylor Carpenter, who is our chronic disease risk reduction and Safe Kids coordinator. So she has both of those. She's also an RN, and she serves as the coordinator for that night. And then on July 22nd, 3 of us from the health department attended the fair parade, and we distributed first aid kits. They were a little first aid kit that we threw out, and those were paid for by a grant. So those were nice. People really liked them. We had used those first aid kits too with our daycare families. So all the daycare families and children earlier that spring received a first aid kit. So under safety programs and device distribution, there should be another handout. And it looks like that. So Taylor put together a report for me, and this is January through up to today's date of what we have done in Safe Kids Marion County, which is handled by the health department. We have done 28 car seat checks. Through the health department, we have 2 car seat technicians. There are only 3 currently in the county that are certified or have an active certification. 17 car seats have been distributed. Those car seats, our main focus is getting those to families for children who maybe have a higher social vulnerability. Maybe they don't have money for a car seat. And while we would provide those to other families too, but that is our focus with that. And right now, Marion County Health Department is the only active NHTSA child safety seat inspection station in Marion County. And also and all of our safety devices, so the car seats, the portable cribs, they're all, we get those through grants and apply for those. And if you ever have taken a tour of the health department, we have a room where all of our safety devices live now that used to be in a shipping container. And that's really nice to keep them out of the elements. So 14 portable cribs have been distributed since January. 8 sleep sacks. I don't know if you're familiar with a sleep sack, but it leaves the arms out for infants so they can roll freely instead of being swaddled. And it's a SIDS prevention device. And Taylor had provided professional education to 11 Marion County professionals. She went and did safe sleep training at parents as teachers. And she also had done a training with all of our staff at the health department. And many of us work with families of young children and infants, like in WIC, Charla works with infants, so does Lynette. And 46 bicycle helmets have been distributed. Our big event where we did that this year was at Gossel when we did the Bike to School Day. Even though we have a lot of rural kids there was a really good participation and people showed up. They still wanted to get a bicycle helmet and still wanted to get bicycle education, bicycle safety education. The bicycle helmets come from Safe Kids worldwide. So those are also, we apply for them through the health department. And 24 life jackets were distributed this year. We didn't get a ton of grant funding for life jackets like we have in the past, but we did get some. And those life jackets were supplied to the Marion County Lake and the Marion County Reservoir for the public pegboard. So if somebody shows up with a boat and they have kids and they didn't have a life jacket, there's one there. We want to keep people safe while they're boating, especially with that being a big tourism thing in Marion County.
Who oversees those life jackets, or do they just disappear?
I think sometimes they do disappear and sometimes they don't. We've talked to Isaac before. We've also talked to the people at the reservoir. Sometimes they are good about coming back. Sometimes they are not, and then we replace them. So it's on an honor system. As for staffing and workforce development, Taylor Carpenter, she's going to attend the hearing screening certification in Topeka, September 8th and 9th. And on July 16th, Taylor and I attended the Kansas Safe Kids Leadership Conference in Salina. And then looking ahead, we do have a Bucks for Buckles event coming up. And we're not going to say which school we're hosting it at because it's always a surprise. We don't want them to know we're coming. But we will be there early September. So what that is we get money from the state, and they give us, we always have more left over. So sometimes we've even done 2 events or we've had to send the remainder of the money back. So people coming through the lines when they're dropping off their kids or kids that are driving, if they are buckled up correctly when they pass us and we've got people manning there, they get $1. If they're not buckled up correctly, they get some facts about seatbelt safety. And it's always a very good event. And we try and go back to schools that we see sometimes where there's maybe not as many people being buckled. And August 24th and August 26th, Taylor and I are going to go do the TB skin test for Tabor College. The education program a few years ago contacted us. So the education students there have to have TB skin tests in order to go do their, I'm trying to think of what it would be called. In nursing, it's clinicals, but when they have to, student teaching, yes. And so we will go do those TB skin tests at Tabor College. And while we're usually only there a couple hours to do them, then we have to come back and we enter them those days into our charting system. September 11th, the Marion County Health Department, we're hosting the South Central Metro Region Preparedness, so Public Health Emergency Preparedness meeting in our meeting room. And then you should have another flyer as well about the flu shot clinics. Emily Griffin in our office has been busy this summer putting this together with all the locations. We will be hosting 2 in our office that are walk-in days. And then we have multiple locations around the county as well, including at the courthouse later in October. Does anyone have any questions?
We spend a lot of money on vaccines.
We do, yes.
How many of those expire?
Not very often. Occasionally we'll have to, so with our, we have a purchasing group through Sanofi, and if we do ever have expired vaccines, it's usually like a portion of a box, and we will send that back, and then they do a reimbursement for those vaccines.
We do get reimbursed for.
We do get reimbursed.
That was my question.
And then, so in our health department, the new health department, we have 2 fridges. We were over full in our last location, but we have 1 fridge that contains our Vaccines for Children program. So that's supplied through the state and federally. And so those are for children who are either on Medicaid, state insurance, they're uninsured, or they have an insurance where they may have a very, very high deductible, and they can pay their $20 administration fee if they're uninsured or have a high deductible and get those where the vaccines are free to them. And then our other fridge, we have private vaccine. We have a pretty good mix of what we see. There's a lot of vaccines for children, but then we also have a pretty good mix of private vaccines too, of people coming in for those, meaning private insurance, Medicare, adult Medicaid, other private insurances like Blue Cross Blue Shield, UMR, Meritain, so. But yes, for our private insurances, the ones that we purchase, we have programs where we can send them back and be reimbursed. During COVID, we did have, when we had to start purchasing the COVID vaccines, we weren't able to send back some of those, but our ones that we have this year, through Pfizer, we can send them back for reimbursement, whatever's left over.
Those child seats, the police departments and sheriff's office, they don't do that anymore.
The only one who does that is John Huber at Hillsborough Police Department, and when he gets seats, he gets them from us. But he's the only other one that's still doing that, that's certified. But I don't know of any highway patrolmen in the county that do that.
How do you advertise that you do it? That you provide that service?
Our main way that we get it out is a lot of word of mouth. When we have WIC clients coming in, when they come in for their first visit, we talk about all the services we provide. We talk about community resources with them. Sometimes we'll post to our Facebook page, like if we're having a car seat check event. Historically, when we've done those, even with a lot of good, advertising for that, they're not very well attended. We've even thought about doing them before, and we have at like a preschool afterwards, but there's a lot of parents that they're ready to get out of there. They don't want to mess with us checking the seat out. And I think it's a very good service, and people can just call up there and schedule a time. And it's amazing how many seats are installed incorrectly. There's a lot of misconceptions. A lot of times parents will do the tether system and a buckle. Well, you're only supposed to do one or the other, and a lot of people don't know that. And you can just call up to the health department and schedule a time, and we'll get it checked out for you.
Could you use the schools? Pass the word through the.
We have done that too, especially with like the preschools and Head Starts, because usually beyond that, there's less kids that are still in a seat.
Anything else for Krista? If not, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Brad?
Executive session of the Bosch litigation, I think is where I want to begin today.
Do you need included?
Self yourself.
And how long?
15 minutes to start with.
You say?
Mm-hmm.
I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss potential litigation pursuant to KSA 75-4319B under item number 2 for consultation of our attorney in matters deemed privileged under attorney-client privilege with the board, Brad and Tina, for 15 minutes until 1:32 with open session to resume back in the commission chambers following closed session. Moved and seconded by Commissioner Gehring. Any other discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Newspaper all
Out of executive session, no decisions taken. We'll move into another executive session. I move that we recess an executive session in order to discuss potential litigation pursuant to KSA 75-4319B. Item number 2 for consultation with our attorney in matters deemed privileged under attorney-client privilege with Brad, the board, and Tina for additional 15 minutes until 1:50.
49?
We're going back in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Any action taken in the last one?
No action taken.
Will there be discussion? Will there be more discussion? Will there be more business after?
We do have other agenda items, yes.
All right, thank you.
You got until,
49?
1:21.
By the time it pulls it up, it's probably just 1:15.
Wouldn't it be 1:49 based on that?
1:49.
Oh, you want 15 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, 1:49.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Well, as long as I win the general election, no vote.
You're on.
Fun. Out of executive session, no action taken. We're going back in. I move that we recess in executive session in order to discuss potential litigation pursuant to KSA 75-4319B under item number 2 for consultation with our attorney in matters deemed privileged under attorney-client privilege. With the board, Tina and Brad, for 10 minutes until 2:01 with open session resumed back to the commission following closed session.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. I vote for you. Comfortable.
Oh, no. We're on.
One of those days. Okay, out of executive session, no action taken. And we'll be going back into another executive.
Mention it.
Move we recess into executive session in order to discuss contract negotiation under item pursuant to KSA 75-4319B under item number 2 for consultation with our attorney in matters deemed privileged under attorney-client privilege with Brad, the board, and Tina for 10 minutes until 2:12 with open session to resume back in the commission chambers following closed session. Have a second on that?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hall. All those in favor?
Aye.
I vote. Okay, out of executive session, no action taken. This time we have a motion. Commissioner Dirks.
Sorry.
Over, maybe the camera.
Okay, on to the conflict of interest policy. Last week we were presented with a draft policy, which I'm gonna make a motion that we disregard this draft and stick with Kansas statute, Article 43, applying to public officers, and use the current state guidelines for statute of interest, for conflict of interest in use for all actions of the county.
Everybody understand the motion?
Seconded.
Moved by Commissioner Dirk, seconded by Commissioner Beneke. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
I vote.
I would like to see our code of ethics, the commission's code of ethics, be applied to countywide. I don't know what it takes to do that. If that's just an addition to our current employee handbook.
We do have a code of ethics policy within our handbook, so I can bring that back to you all.
As long as it mirrors our code of ethics, I'm fine with that.
All right, moving on. Budget.
Okay, I do have one more administrative item that I forgot. I didn't
Okay.
write it on my list, but I did hand out, the board told me a while back that you wanted to be in charge of approving the budgeted transfers. So I do have a request. It looks like this. It's a single sheet. This is the budgeted transfer that we planned last year during budget process and which was approved in our budget document. The transfers from the different departments to the fleet fund to fund our fleet program. So that transfer has not yet been done for 2026. And before next month, we will need to make this transfer. So the total amount transferred is $263,500. This is the budgeted transfer from various departments to the fleet fund.
I'll make a motion to make the budget transfer of $263,500 from general aging, ambulance, and appraiser to the fleet account for 2026.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Gary, second by Commissioner Hall to do the budgeted transfer in the amount of $263,500. Any other discussion?
I just have a question. What's the total of $527,000 at the bottom?
So on a journal transfer, you see the ins and the outs. So we're moving $263,500, but on double entry accounting, you see that amount doubled because it reflects the cash offset accounts.
It totals the call. All the way.
So we're taking $263,500 from one place, and it affects not only the expenditure line item, but also the cash account.
It just shows
It's
a balance sheet.
right.
Yeah.
The amount of money we're moving is $263,500.
Everybody see that? Got it, Dan?
Got it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ivan?
Does anybody need a break before we go into budget?
We'll take 5?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break from 2:17 to 2:23.
Take my place through. So, to accept it, whether it's mental or psychologically.
Call the meeting back to order and turn it over to Tina. Budget.
Okay. So what I focused on today are the tax levied funds. So this is not the entire budget, but it's a good portion of it. And you've got a stapled packet there on the table. I did handwrite numbers in the top right corner. So when I refer to page numbers, then you'll be able to track with me. So hopefully you can all see that. So the first page is basically just the way the budget's, the way the draft that I have for you right now, the way it sits today. It shows a comparison of the budgeted tax levy amount plus the mill levy rate and the comparison to the prior year. And you did take an action, voted to remain revenue neutral. So if you look in column I, which is almost halfway across the page, if you look at toward the bottom where it says total all funds on line 37, last year's tax levy was $13,215,104. Does everybody see that? And below that shows the valuation that levy was based on. So our valuation for the budget for this that we worked through during this time last year was $189,122,243. Okay? If you go over to the right side of the page, in column M, you can see the draft budget, the levied taxes by fund. And if you go down to the total all funds, again, you'll see that 13,215,104. That shows that we are going to be requesting the same amount of dollars as in the previous budget. And this will be our third year. If you go all the way over to the left on that line, you can see that we did that in the prior year as well. So this will be our third year of revenue neutral. If you look at our valuation below on column M, line 39, our valuation for the current budget year that we're going into is $196,398,764, which is an overall increase in valuation of $7,276,521. And our levy rate last year was 69.870. To stay revenue neutral and not capitalize on that increased valuation, so we're not capturing that, we will be lowering our mill levy rate by 2.595 mills approximately to 67.275, which is the revenue neutral rate. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, so that's what's on the first page, basically. You can see that some funds have increased. Like if you look at column P on that front page, some of the numbers are in black and some are in red, and that just basically that's the tax dollars difference between the funds. So some went up, some went down based on this current draft.
Based on the budget request for this coming year.
But right, we're gonna go through all the funds, all of the tax levy funds today. Page 2 is a historical comparison of the actual budget authority, or what we have budgeted to spend in each fund for since 2024. Total levied funds, you can see 3/4 of the way down the page. In all the way to the right, in 2024, our budget for levied funds was $26,969,193. In 2025, it was $26,911,656. Last year, it was $26,575,185. And this year, the proposed, according to this draft, is $25,543,088. So you can see that we've been reducing the budget for the last several cycles. And again, we're just looking at levied funds today. Next week, I will have the non-levied funds for you. Does anybody have questions right now about either of these first two pages? Okay. Page 3 is the budget certificate page, and so it just basically shows the budget authority for expenses and then also the amount of tax revenue needed to support that. And that's just a restatement of what you've seen on the other pages. At the bottom of the right above where it says page number 1, you'll see that total again of $13,215,104 in the amount of ad valorem tax. Okay, any questions about any of that so far? Okay, so now we go into the actual each fund. So the general fund is our largest fund. It has the most accounts and departments within it. So it is the next several pages would be the general fund. So pages 4, 5, and 6 of the handwritten page numbers. Page 4, this is the revenues that we have coming in. And the middle column for 2026, these are estimates, of course, because we haven't finished this year. So all of these pages are set up with, you can see the prior year actual numbers on the left side for 2025. Those are from the audited financials. The current year estimate has been updated based on current projections. So it may or may not match the current budget, what we thought our budget would be for this year. So
Pretty much an estimate of what we think.
it's an estimate based on actuals to date. So some of these I have adjusted to be as accurate as possible from our budget. Because we adopted the budget.
Should be within a 1 or 2% of that number, maybe.
I didn't do any percentages, but I just looked at actuals based on how much we've received in. And when we
As an
estimate,
estimate, we're surely within 1 or 2% of that.
not in every case. Not in every case. We try to budget conservatively on revenue. So we try not to overinflate what we expect to receive, because then if you don't receive it, you're stuck with your budget. Right. So I have basically what I've done here, and what I typically do every year is I will look at where we're sitting as of the time we're working on the budget. And then if it's a type of revenue that continues to come in through the rest of the year, I try to estimate how much we are likely to still receive. And then I'll project that forward. If that,
We're guesstimating the last 3.5 months at this
yes, that's correct. Yeah.
point. We're more of a guesstimate yet.
Yep, and then the 2027 are also estimates. I've tried to make them, some of these I've gotten a little less conservative, because when we're trying to stay revenue neutral, to make that work, we have to consider, we're counting on receiving the revenues that are not taxes to be able to make a budget balance. So some of the revenues that are included in 2027 are higher than what I would typically feel comfortable or in the past would have started off with. I always like to start, we think we might get this, we hope we get this, but we're not gonna put the best case scenario.
Faith that's gonna be a true number when we're.
Right. Does anybody have questions about any of these revenues?
In a 27 column.
Uh-huh.
In a 27 column, yet there's some zeros, and like, recreational vehicle or motorcraft or boating type stuff, they dropped the taxes on them. I understand that, but like diversion fees.
Diversion fees, we don't put in the budget as revenue. I will only ever add them in the middle column as we receive them, because that's an unknown and it's not a big impact to our budget.
Counts for most of those zeros, it's just an unknown.
That's right, like tax sale proceeds, we don't typically budget those dollars because we don't really know what that's gonna look like at all. There's not a reliable way to estimate it, and it's not a
Such a
large
small
amount.
percentage in the big picture.
It's not material to our overall budget.
Okay.
You got the X's in your ad valorem tax, so you don't even put an estimate on that.
Well, let me talk to you about that, Jonah, because on the 2020, and all of you commissioners, just to remind you all, Dan, you may know this already, but on 2027, on all the ad valorem, you're always gonna see those X's, because that's what we're trying to figure for. So if you remember back to algebra, X equals, you're trying to figure for X here. So what we're doing is we put in everything else that we know or we expect to receive. We put in the expenditures that we are going to be funding, and then the shortfall is the ad valorem, which is, so you can see the ad valorem, the projected ad valorem for each fund at the bottom. So if you look at the bottom of page 5, all the way at the bottom right, amount of 2026 ad valorem tax, that is that number. So the number of amount of tax dollars we are seeking then to fund this budget is that $4,265,000 for the general fund, if that makes sense. Okay.
Now, there is no column in here for those demand payments, those 3 demand payments. They don't even, you don't even acknowledge them anymore, that local ad valorem tax reduction, that
No.
Liddy County fund that the
No.
state's not paying?
No. We stopped putting them in the budget a while
Had it
back
For 20 years.
because
You running for state, pay attention.
right, so what, some of these commissioners may not even know what you're talking about, but there is
LAVTR.
LAVTR and some of the payments that are laid out in statute that are supposed to come to the counties, the state has not funded, and so it's
They
been.
killed it. They killed it 2 years
Right.
ago, I think. Yeah,
So
so
what
it's,
they did,
yeah, you,
all
there's,
that money used to go to the treasurer.
yeah.
The legislature is out of it. And the treasurer just forwarded the money based on, population and stuff.
There was a formula.
Yeah.
It's ironic up there.
And then all the legislature did was direct the money to go to the general fund. And so now to get it to the money, they gotta go through the legislature and they don't answer the phones that day.
Well, it's funny.
Since 2004.
When it came up about
2 years ago,
pretty fiercely.
2 or 3 years.
Yeah, a few years ago, the counties
They even did
really
a study
tried
on it
to.
and told us how much we had.
You know, $3.3 billion since
But then
2004.
They did say, well, if we give it to the counties, they'll just have a slush fund. So they just kept it for themselves as a slush fund.
I love that line because look at the state's slush fund. Their budget surplus or whatever, about the same amount.
But no, we do not, I mean, I can put that back in.
No, I just
And put
curious.
0 on it, but we don't include that in our budget.
There's no hope in that.
You can just dig up
one's
the body to
water.
rebury. I mean,
That just takes up legislation
That's not-
time and then they don't get anything else done.
Dan, that's not in my job description, taking up the bodies and reburying.
we can work on that.
Any other questions about the revenues on page 4? On page 5, this is a summary. We go into more detail on the next page. Oh, wait. It did not give us the detail page. You don't have the general fund detail? Okay, let me see. Sorry about that. That is a printing. Let me see if I can do that real quick. I would like you to be able to see the breakout of the general fund. So if I can have like 5 minutes, I'll go and print this page for you. Is that okay? But on page 5, you have a summary of all the general fund accounts. So within the general fund, the departments are the county commission, county clerk, treasurer, county attorney, sheriff, jail, register of deeds, planning and zoning, emergency management, communications, which is also called dispatch, county administrator. We have a sales tax that comes into the general fund that we budget out to be able to spend it. This is where the appropriation funds are for groups that come and ask for money. This is where facilities, technology, and courthouse expenses are. And we also have in here the 8th Judicial District, and then we do budget within the general fund. We put a mill levy in, which is 7 mills, which is levied to fund road projects. And so that money, so we do 7 mills there. Part of that goes into capital improvement fund to fund road projects. The remainder, which is about 3 mills, is to pay the bond payment for we had a road bond a couple years ago. And so that is what that is used for. And then I can go and get like the individual departments sorry, that's not included in here. But this is the summary overall of what is included in the general fund. So if you look down towards the bottom right, the cash reserve 2027 column, this draft budget includes $514,243 in cash reserve. And that means I took money out of future improvements lines to be able to come up with any cash reserve whatsoever for the general fund. Within the general fund on this budget, we also do include the revenues from both of the wind farms. So the pilot payments that we receive are shown as revenue in this budget. So that money includes the money right now that we receive from the wind farms, so. And I'm gonna run and grab those pages for you so that we can have a full conversation about all the general fund departments. Okay. My apologies.
And those pilot payments. Are they mandatory?
The what?
Those pilot payments on those wind farms? Yeah, is that part of the contract or whatever that they will?
It's separate. The pilot payments are separate because you can't do pay to play.
Right.
So it's gotta be, so you gotta have your road maintenance agreements, you gotta have all your other agreements first, and then the pilot.
But can they opt out anytime they want? That used to be the
No,
case.
their agreement was they could take away from it if we caused them undue stress.
Oh, okay, that's different.
So
But
if we
before
start,
they could just stop paying it.
if we start making them have extra engineering and certain that's what happened.
Misery factor.
And one of the first pilot payments we got, first 2 or 3, they withheld money because they said that they had to over-engineer some things because of certain people making them do extra stuff.
Okay.
Ultimately, we negotiated part of that back, but.
Yeah. But they could only drop it to 100,000.
Right. It had a floor.
There was a floor, so they had to wait, they had to get their money back over several years.
That answers the question I had been asked.
What?
Whether they could stop.
They had them. No, not really.
Just because of.
I've noticed just in observation, most of the counties that are going revenue neutral are rural counties. Very few urban counties are.
Oh no, they're taxing the crap out of the people. Oh my God. Bad.
And of course, you know, you can look at the figures there and see what revenue neutral has done to our cash balances now. So
Their ability to go non-revenue neutral is because of their growth too. So it doesn't mean that their taxes are increasing per person.
Well, yeah, but
Because they've got more
they
people
gain
coming
a
in.
lot on valuation. I get that.
But if they have extra residents being built all the time, then
Right.
that doesn't mean that each individual person's taxes are increasing.
But
It's just meaning that they have more of a tax base.
But you look at all the exemptions the state's given out here in the last few years. I mean, like they took boats off now.
Right.
Watercraft. I mean, they just keep, every dime they lose there goes onto a house.
Well, then the tax exemptions, there's, I think Marion County is one of the higher ones too, of having tax exempt properties.
Well, that Coffeyville thing back in 2012, 16, 12, where they gave them the personal property on, equipment, where they took that off, the alleged once they lost their exemption for movement there, they threatened to move out if they didn't do something. So the legislature took a bunch of that spread out across the state. That hammered us bad. Everything became untaxable. Like co-op, bigger business.
The health system needs some reworking. I mean, I'm all right with incentivizing somebody to come or build or R&D, but then they gotta get out of it. You can't be
That's
indefinite.
what happened there. They got their 10 years, but when 10 years up, they didn't want to pay again, so they start, well, we're just moving out. Well, they got 3,000 employees now. It's a big deal. They got embedded, and so they got an arguing point. At least we don't have to pay for a new Chiefs stadium.
Did I give everybody
I
one?
think.
Okay, here's one more.
By design. We don't want you sitting there the whole time. It's not like McDonald's, it's inviting, but it gets uncomfortable, so you leave.
Oops, one more.
Just kidding. It was just cheap.
Okay.
It wasn't spending much money.
So these pages are the breakout of all these general fund departments that you saw on the previous, on page 5. So you could potentially label these 5.1, et cetera. Okay. On most of these, well, on all of these, what I've tried to do is I've looked at the current year projections also. So I have already adjusted the middle column for if we're gonna, it looks like we're gonna be under budget or over the line item on specific things. I have made those adjustments in this draft. So it's as accurate as I can have it today. Commissioners had said at a previous meeting for capital outlay for you all to carry over and add to the next year your amount for capital outlay. So that's what I've done there. The current year budget in 2026, we actually budgeted $55,000 for counselor. Our contract is $42,000. So that budget is the same. I did put the 55 in, which is the same as what was in this year's budget. I still need to verify all of the personnel numbers, but they should be basically the calculations that we had before, but some people requested slight differences, so those are things that we would need to look at. I do want to mention, I did not include any cost of living in this draft. So the board had asked what it would be for 3% cost of living, and that, including benefits, that amount is approximately $265,000 to be a 3% cost of living across the board, plus including benefits. That is not included in this draft.
The benefits we elected not to raise the health that they pay.
Well, we have, so when I say benefits, the total cost of that raise, including benefits, we have to pay contributions in. The county pays other parts. Like we have to pay into Social Security and
Matching part.
and capers. And so to give a 3% raise, it costs more than just the wages. It costs more on those contributions as well. So that number that I'm giving you is an all-in number. Okay. And that one does not have to do with anything with health insurance, because that's not based on wages. Okay. I've put some notes on here. You all can look at these things, and when we come back next week, we can revisit some of this. One thing to note in the, it's about 2/3 of the way down, the jail section. On the personnel line item, when they were here for budget, they did mention that they probably are going to need to add staff. I did not include that in here. They didn't provide a number, but they were wanting to add 2 people to the jail. That is not in this budget right now.
So that's just for current staff
Yes,
totals.
yes, that's right. And on some, if it's clear that we're not gonna spend an entire personnel budget for this calendar year, I have reduced this calendar year in the middle column and carried those funds over to be able to utilize them next year. So that's what some of those notes mean. Another thing on the jail, the capital outlay line, if you'll remember, they did not budget for any air conditioning units. They've reduced that. So that line on this draft is probably gonna be less than what we need for 2027
For the jail unit.
for the jail, yep. I did add a building maintenance, I changed it, I moved it, and I added a building maintenance line, and I did add 45,000 in there to get a start on some of these things, so that is included.
Okay.
buy a unit, leave it sit, buy another unit.
Right, regardless, we need to make sure that we're gonna get in trouble if we don't set aside some, at least give ourselves some authority to put some money in here to make those repairs when they come up. Otherwise, I don't know how we're gonna make them. So I did put that in there as a separate line. If you'll go to the next page. On emergency management, I just have some notes on here. On the contractual line item, that does include the request for the active 911. That was in Marcy's request. So whether that stays or whether you want to do something different or move it to a different section, that it does include that. Also, you might remember that in that budget request, there was a request for $90,000 for to build a building out at a property at 1240 Commercial. I did not include $90,000 in this draft budget. I did put a start, I put $20,000 in case you want to start saving for a building. But I did not include that.
A building for what?
To house the emergency management equipment, like our trailers and all of that stuff.
Cold storage building.
All right. It could be used for other county departments as well.
What are we doing? Don't we have something in Hillsborough?
We have, right now, yes, we have,
Fairgrounds.
we're using the fairgrounds to store our emergency management equipment.
Okay.
Partway down, like where it says sales tax other, and this, you see allocations. It's like the fourth section down. Does everybody see that? So this is where we pay several things out of there typically. So I put the requests in that we've received at the amounts we've received. Those, if you want to change those amounts, those are just placeholders right now. The pictometry contract is set, but those others are the current requests. Or if we haven't received a request, I put in what was in the prior year budget. The section below that shows appropriation funds. So these are paid from levied funds, not from sales tax. And so those are the requests that you've received this year, same thing. I did put in the amounts at the requested amounts, and those are subject to board's review. And my personal opinion in preparing a revenue neutral budget would be these allocation requests. I think it might be appropriate if the board wants to just do them flat. Like if they've requested an increase, potentially say no, but just fund them at what their last year's.
It sounds harsh, but if we're gonna go flat, they need to go flat.
Right.
So I would say move them all down to last year's numbers.
Is there consensus on that? So.
Oh, I'm with it.
Okay.
I mean, we're asking the county staff to go flat, and then asking the constituents to bear with us until we can find a way to reduce taxes, just keep them flat, then everybody else needs to do their part and stay flat.
Okay. So I've made that note for the next draft. What I've been trying to work on over the last couple budget cycles, so this one and the 2026 budget cycle, is to separate out what's it actually. We used to have one just big pot that we called courthouse, where a lot of, all like utilities for various departments, and where just general operating expenses and anything that didn't have another home to be paid for was paid out of that. And so over the last couple of budget cycles, I've been trying to get that more specific to where we don't have just this big. It was also where we would carry a lot of cash in the past budgets. I have separated those out now, so where we're trying to.
Accountability of what we're spending for each department.
Right, so we're trying to say, this is what we're spending on facilities, like buildings. This is what we're spending on technology and different classifications of technology and communication. And then general operating would be more like property insurance and other kinds of contracts that, and utilities that affect all of the county general departments. So,
We still have an AS400.
yes. It works great. It's a workhorse.
Until you signed the budget.
There's no sarcasm there.
Yeah, it's actually, it's very reliable. So, but we do still have to maintain it and upgrade it and all of that. So yes, we still have
I
that.
did a big upgrade on that a couple of years ago, didn't we?
Oh, probably. And then
Several years ago, when we first, right after we signed the budget, it shot craps. It just died.
So one thing, if you look under the facilities section, which is the third from the bottom, we have, these are primarily on the project / multipurpose building, that is kind of where we pay for, that's where we're paying for our parking lot improvements. That's where we pay for repairs to this building, to multiple other buildings or remodels, things like that. So I reduced the current year column and I set 400,000 on the budget for next year. Future projects improvements, I'm gonna tell you what it was on the actual current year budget. I put in $120,000 in there for next year, and we did have it at 500,000 because we were trying to save up to do maintenance projects and just make sure that we're not falling behind. So going revenue neutral is like, that is one of, obviously a big area. The first area that we would cut would be saving for being able to manage future needs of the buildings. So let me find what that was before, just so that you have a good idea about that. Our multi-purpose building was at 500,000 last year. And we made, okay, it looks like we just made the line last year and talked about it, but we didn't put any budget in for future improvements in this current year budget. So basically it's kind of the same amount, it's just an increase of 20,000. Any other questions or? My intention would be that you would be able to take this home, look at it, and then next week, if you have things that you want to consider or talk about, we can do that at our next session. Or feel free to reach out in the interim. So if we go to the next page. You can see in the third section down, the road and bridge project transfers. That's where that 7 mills is that I was talking about. We levy 7 mills, and then 3 mills of that is what's covering our bond payment. So we reduced our general fund levy amount from 7 mills to 4 mills. So we're levying 4 mills in the general fund and 3 mills in bond and interest. And then this money that we levy in the general fund is transferred as a budgeted transfer throughout the year to go to the capital improvement fund. That's where we fund our blacktop projects out of. So it's a little bit confusing to look at. We also receive sales tax. That's 80% of the sales tax that we receive is specific for road and bridge. And the way we used to account for that in the budget is we would show the entire amount in the general fund. So we would deposit it all in the general fund, and then 2 mils of it would go to capital improvement to fund road big projects. The remaining amount of whatever the balance is of that 80% minus the 2 mils was in the general fund to be spent on road. Usually we spend it on blacktop. But we were spending it out of the general fund. And so last year, we made the change to just, when we receive that 80%, we're putting the amount that's supposed to go into the blacktop fund just straight in there. So we're not doing all these gymnastics of putting it in the general fund. And then the balance is being.
Confusing.
Well, it gives a better picture of what we're actually spending on blacktop. Because if you show that revenue and then you show the expenditure in the same fund, instead of showing an expenditure in the road and bridge fund and an expenditure in the general fund, it was really hard to track how much we were really spending on roads. So that's kind of confusing probably. And then the 8th Judicial District is in here. Courthouse security I'm showing under that area as well, which is one of these last budgeted line items. We've had it at this amount for a few years now. There have been some requests for us to do something a little bit different with security, and I think it's a conversation that we're gonna have to have. But I know that on a revenue neutral year, it's a difficult time to try to
Not very
plan for something different.
If we're gonna stay there.
Right. All right, and I guess that last page is kind of irrelevant, so. Or the next one. And then the last one is just kind of a summary of all the different pages, so. Any questions or comments on any of that right now? Okay, we go back to the main packet, and go to page 6. The debt service fund, this is specifically for our bond payment. So it's a requirement that we levy in this fund to pay that bond payment for roads. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. There's not much to do with this. Any questions about it? Okay, page 7, handwritten page 7, is the Road and Bridge Fund. So these are the revenues. And again, I have updated the middle column to include as accurate of a picture as I have today. One thing of note to mention, about halfway down, you see FEMA reimbursement in the descriptor column. We had a FEMA reimbursement in 2025 of $752,451. So that was a good boost. And obviously that's not something we're gonna receive in 26 or 27 unless we have some sort of a major disaster and.
It'll take 3 years to get it.
Right.
So you can't
So-
budget it for that year when it happens.
That's correct. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that is in there as revenue for actuals for 2025. If you look a little bit further down where you see claim road damage, I should say bridge damage, there's that $130,000 that was a settlement that we are receiving in 2026. That is accounted for in the Road and Bridge Fund for this current year. And then you can see the sales tax there. Instead of transferring it in, it's just coming straight into the fund.
Just that neighborhood revitalization, that's still being used pretty.
It is, and that's one thing, I'm glad you mentioned that because I need to let the board know, I have not included neighborhood revitalization in this budget yet. So every single fund will be reduced, the budget authority is gonna be reduced in every single fund based on the neighborhood revitalization being put in. It's one of the last things we put in. So the budget, that will cut into the cash reserves or to the budget authority of every single fund. But we never put that in.
The applications will be for that, or is it?
No, it's how it has to be levied is what she's talking about. It's a percentage. And until you complete the budget and you say, okay, here we are, then that neighborhood revitalization goes in and then it
Comes
shifts all the
back,
numbers.
comes back out of every single fund. So the total tax levied amount for each fund will stay the same, but then of that, you'll have a refund that counts against it. And so, then I have to adjust the actual expenditures that the departments need out by that much. It's reduced by that much. You'll see that in a later step.
It's a factor that it's just best if you don't do it till the last, just because it messes everything up.
It does.
Then you gotta tweak everything again.
Okay. Page 8 is the summary page of showing the expenditures. And then if you'll notice at cash reserves 2027 column, all the way over to the right toward the bottom on page 8, I put $100,000 in there as cash carryover for that massive fund. So that's not a lot of cash. However, we do have cash that is road money that sits in capital improvement. So if we get into trouble, we can transfer money from that capital improvement fund back to road.
Actual this year's or next year's expenses is what you're saying, out of that fund? For expenditures for that.
If we are short and we have money, something that comes up that we have to spend money on and we don't have the cash, we can potentially transfer money back out of capital improvement to cover that expense. We may have to amend the budget to do that, but we do have some cash sitting there because the way that works is we levy and then we transfer and we build up funds until we can complete a big project. So that fund builds and then it's expended almost all the way down, and then it builds and then it's expended.
You also have budgeted transfers. Get in trouble cash-wise, you don't have to do the budgeted transfer.
Right, that's basically what I'm saying. Okay, page 9 shows the breakout of the different areas of the different departments in the Road and Bridge Fund. So we have, I'm sorry, I should have given you a copy.
It's all right.
Go make a copy.
Okay, that's yeah. Okay, thank you. No, I didn't think about it, I'm so sorry. Okay, so then on page 9.
And then you got next year, you gotta be a pro. All the time you get.
You'll see that we have sections for administration, blacktop, gravel, and then we have a bridge section for a construction section for bridge and building projects. And then we have the maintenance shop area, and then the transfer to special equipment. And so those are the general areas that we utilize in the road and bridge budget. And again, the middle column I have adjusted based on projected 2026 actual expenditures. So some of those lines in the middle column don't match the current year budget. They've either been raised or lowered based on our spending so far. Obviously, we are not over budget, but we're just able then to be as accurate as possible with our tracking. I do show that 750,000 is transferred to special equipment for 2027, which is what we talked about at our previous meetings. One thing to keep in mind that I've learned since we had our initial budget meetings is that there will be new requirements for road signs. I think I included that on one of your reports recently. Over the next 2 years, we are going to have to post bridge weight limit signs at the intersections, not just at the bridges. So that's gonna be a major expense for the county because we're gonna have to post them at the bridge and at the intersection before the bridge and on both sides. So instead of having 2 signs, one on each side of the bridge, we're gonna have 4. So that's a new, I think we have 2 years to make that change. But that will affect our sign budget.
It's just another unfunded mandate then.
Yes.
Are that bridges, by definition, or is that?
Anything that we-
culverts, or
Anything we have a weight limit on.
So it'd be just bridges,
is
posted
it
weight,
wages then, okay.
posted weight.
I don't have information from the department yet on the estimated cost or how many signs that might be. They're still looking into that. But I did want to at least make sure that you hear it and that you saw it on my report.
Can you,
At least 100 signs.
180 bridges, I think, in the county.
That's what I was thinking, there was more than 150.
So anyway, that will affect us. Again, I don't know. I have not increased the sign budget for 2027
Water crossings.
at this point.
Wouldn't that be 2 signs per bridge to boot?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's 4 signs per bridge.
Is that?
Well, and we should already have 2
Right.
existing
It'd be 2
on
more.
at the bridge.
But they did more, even if they were on the same mile stretch, you still have to post
Yes,
one and another one at the
correct.
corner.
I believe so. Or you may be able to, I haven't read it and I haven't seen it, you might be able to post the lower one. So, which would make sense.
Would that come out of
Can we
KDOT?
use a paper sign?
No.
Isn't there an app for that?
Would that come out of KDOT?
That, I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
It doesn't sound like something that would come out of the legislature.
Well, if it did, then we need to start talking to somebody.
Just a change in the requirements on posting bridge signs.
Somebody in the legislature that owns the sign company.
There is, actually.
Conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest.
There is, except that
Twice as many targets.
they're, since the signs don't have to be lit up, I know it's not this guy. If they had to be lit up, I'd be really
Yeah.
screaming, because I know the guy.
10.1, yeah.
Any other questions right now on road bridge fund? I did put, let's see. On the road and bridge building, it's about, it's under road and bridge building, bridge and building projects. We had been trying to save up $2 million for a road and bridge shop building, and I put $130,000 in the budget for next year, and I zeroed out this year, so, to stay revenue neutral. All right, ambulance.
How much you go up this year?
Well, I mean, actually, I went down with it, I think, because I kept the tax dollars the same in this fund, which means I lowered the expenditures for this fund. On the service fees, I didn't feel like I could increase it any more than, it's at 640 on the revenue side, which is toward the top of the page, 640,000. We are paying a billing service now, and so they take a percentage, they take 8.5% of our billing revenue. So as I was looking at that, I'm hoping that we will achieve that 640 on the billing. Where I was able to make the reductions was on the personnel line items. In 2026, we will not spend the entire amount that was budgeted for personnel. And then in 2027, I reduced the amount that we're funding because we are unlikely to have the Peabody Station for 2027. So I was able to reduce the personnel number there slightly from the request. Some of the other numbers where we run close, on some of the contractual and commodities and training. So let's see. On the ambulance building line item, which is closer to the bottom, you see in parentheses 700,000. I left 50,000 in the current year because we are addressing some HVAC concerns and some different things, and not sure when all of those numbers are gonna come in. And then I reduced that number and put in 120,000 as a placeholder for 2027. And then on the ambulance replacement, usually that's 380,000 in this year's budget. I rolled it over and added 100,000 to it. That's where we save up for an ambulance. The reason I did it this way is because it gives us flexibility. If we get an ambulance ordered this year and we need to pay for it this year, we still have it in our budget at 380,000. But if we don't get that done until next year, doing it this way gives us the flexibility with our budget authority to be able to buy it in whichever year and pay for it whichever year we need to. And so 380,000 has been our goal as far as what we save for one, and then we start saving for the next one. So that 100,000 in addition to the 380 would be the first year for saving for the next ambulance.
That's it, Rowan Clark. A year would be the soonest we could get one.
So anyway, that's what I've done with the ambulance replacement there. Any questions, concerns, anything on this fund right now? Or if there's more information that you all want to see, then please let me know that. Page 11 is the appraiser. I reduced the personnel in the middle column because we have been short-staffed. We will not end up spending all the personnel money, so I've utilized a portion of that to fund next year's budget. That's really the only change there.
Down an employee as we speak.
I believe they're in the process of hiring 2 people so that if they're successful in that, they should then be back up to full staff.
They're still doing that digital mapping, keeping that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where you'll see we have there is a line item in here. I just carried over the current year and added it to next year for the digital mapping. So their total on that budget line item for next year is $4,133. The next one is Department on Aging. All of these are pretty straightforward. Any questions right now on that fund? Then page 13 is election. Are you gonna spend money this year? I left money in the middle column for capital outlay. Do you think, oh, that's for your trailer probably, part of it. Okay, I think I left 3,000 in there, then I've got your trailer, and then of course we have the offset 9,500 at the top for this security grant that paid for the trailer. So I just carried over everything to next year on that. This fund stays pretty well the same.
So in 2027, we're looking at a big upgrade on the voting equipment.
Well, we always budget that, and so that we have money there when it's time to replace, so. But there will be an update to the statewide voter registration system. Ashley was talking to you about that before, that the counties will have to pay for, and we don't have the amounts yet, so.
Some of that has been carried forward to get to that dollar.
That's typically what we do, because we wanna make sure that we don't underfund the.
Should help fund this upcoming expense.
Correct. I've just put, you can divide that out in the line items however you want to. The important thing to remember is that for the whole fund, the amount of expenditures cannot go over the entire amount in the budget for the fund. Where an individual line item might be more or less than what we show, and that's okay within the fund, as long as you don't go over the grand total.
Grand total dictates the list.
Correct. Any questions on that? Okay. Page 14 is the employee benefit fund. And this one, we always budget it pretty tight, and I did not increase the numbers on this as much as I feel comfortable. But I wanted to at least put some carryover in the fund. We usually get, this one is always very close, and it has been. Ever since I've worked here.
Historically.
Yes. I have updated the middle column based on current year actuals and projections. One thing that also I want to remind the board that we are doing our insurance self-funded now. So the amount, when you set the premiums of what the county pays, like we actually pay ourselves a certain amount that goes into a separate fund that where we pay our claims from. And so we also have to pay the premiums to the insurance company. So we're paying two different things. We pay the premiums and the claims, and then there's a stop loss. So if anybody hits $75,000 of claims in a year, then insurance takes over the rest, and we do not pay any more of that. But when you set the premiums that the employees pay, we still have to pay a certain amount. So if we're paying it to the insurance company or to ourselves, like this can get really tight in the employee benefit fund. But in our health claims fund right now, so far we're covering everything, so. But it does matter though, what.
How many claims there are,
Right.
the claims for.
Right.
And
what everybody pays in matters as well.
but it also allows you to bank cash, make interest, try to offset some of those things.
Right. So one way, I guess saying that, the reason I said that is one way that if we feel like if we're going through the year and it appears that we're gonna go over budget in the employee benefit fund, we may have to reduce what the amount that the county is,
Held back.
has held back and put into the claims fund. And then our claims fund is going to get hammered. As far as, we'll have to just watch it and make sure that it's not, gonna be underfunded. But we do have a way to hopefully make this
Little
budget.
flexibility in the.
Yeah, there's a
at the
little-
end or-
There's a little bit, yeah.
So the analysis on the self-funding is still making it worthwhile to go that way.
It's a long-term kind of you have to do it for several years
off.
before you can see what the impact is gonna be.
Started off good, kinda got tight. Now it's kinda leveling back out, I think.
We had a very good year the first year, which is what we were hoping for. We had a pretty rough year last year. This year is a pretty expensive year as well. So,
Expensive.
and it seems like it goes in cycles.
It also is allowed, promote like the healthy, because it benefits the so you're not paying out, so if you could promote more of the healthy lifestyles, then
Yeah, there are a lot more tools we could implement, doing it this way. So that's a discussion for, later on next year, but.
That's also an expense too.
Oh, well,
I mean, you hope to save money, but you've got to invest money to
you,
start.
you invest and then hope that it saves later.
That works out. Or penny.
But it takes longer term than a year or even 2 years, so. On the noxious weed fund, which is page 15, you might remember that we have, right now, what we have employees that are shared between noxious weed and HHW. And we were budgeting the salaries primarily out of noxious weed and not out of HHW. So this year, going into this budget, we're trying to reflect it more accurately where that actual expense should be charged to. So the salary is less in the noxious weed, and you'll see that it's higher on the solid waste. I did increase the revenue for the current year and next year, the proposed revenue for chemical sales, because we had it pretty low. And one thing to keep in mind too, if we get short in this fund, we stop buying chemicals. So, one other thing in this fund, typically there's a transfer every year that goes to the noxious weed capital outlay fund, and so we have been doing 10,000 a year for quite a while. In this year's budget, we did have 20,000 as a transfer for this year, and then the request for next year was also 20,000. I in just trying to make sure that we are, because of our revenue neutral and trying to make sure that our funds overall are trying to be, I reduced it basically in this draft. So to 10,000 for each year. Which would leave us close to 50,000 still in that noxious weed capital outlay fund for 2027, 47,700, I think. So if the board wants to do something different, let me know, but that's just one area that I could see that we would be okay with saving. Eventually, the idea is that funds another spray truck or whatever we do out of that. Okay, any questions on any of that? Concerns or? Okay, page 16 is the health department. There's something I do want to talk to you about on this. So I've tried to update everything up to current actual and projected. One thing, last year, we ended up levying $267,000 in the health department fund. And a lot of it was because there was so much back and forth on some of our grants on how much they were gonna fund, or then they took away the funding. And so we actually increased what the levy was in the health department fund last year. If you look up here on the top, under the revenues, it's about 2/3 down of that top section where it says state formula grant. Do you all see that? So you see the prior year actual, the current year estimate, and I put, there's a 0 over here in 2027. Because what I have done in this particular budget, because we did end up with cash and we levied higher in that fund last year than we have in the past, I did, to try to do the revenue neutral, I reduced potentially the levy in this fund back by 100,000, so where we would be more consistent with where we'd levied in the past. But what that means is, if on this one, you've probably heard it many, many times, if we don't levy at least the same or more as what we have in the past, we are not eligible for the state formula grant for 1 year. And so by reducing this levy saving $100,000 in taxes, we're gonna lose $20,000 for 1 year. So I want you to be aware of that. If we do the budget like this, that's revenue that we won't have. However, the budget should hopefully still be sustainable based on this lesser tax amount for next year. The health department is always it's a tricky one to budget because of there's so many grants and the funding is approved and then they take it away and then it's, so that's what I did with this draft. So if there's, obviously if there's some other guidance that you wanna give or you wanna look at that differently, we can do that.
So do we not know if that state formula grant is even gonna be available?
Well, we only can get it if we levy the same amount
Right,
or more. And so since I'm levying less in this fund,
right. Then we would be out
I'm
of it.
assuming that we will not get it.
Right.
So if you wanna levy another 100,000 in here again, we can do that and then receive that extra revenue. I mean,
We've only.
that's just it.
We went through, we shaved.
I've
4
shaved,
grand somewhere.
I've shaved,
That's about it.
right, I've shaved from as many areas as I can. So I don't know where we would make that up
I
right
mean, if
now.
we do come up short, we can still pull it from somewhere else, right?
Can you,
Where we don't exceed the bottom line number.
yes,
Right,
within the
we can still
funds.
move around to a degree.
Right, yes. Now with the health department, it's a little bit different because they have grants and they have budgets within their grants and grant funds can only be spent a certain way and on certain things. So in most funds, that's accurate. In this fund, it's not, it's a little more restricted because they have specifications on what each thing can be spent.
I remember that grants, you gotta stick to the
Right.
letter of the law.
Right. Page 17, solid waste fund. This is where we pay the monitoring for the landfill and also our HHW.
Your salaries.
Right, and this is where I increase to make it, like, this fund over the past few years has kind of gone up and down, and you'll see on that comparison sheet I gave you, but we're still below what we were at like 3 years ago in this fund, even with this change. Page 18 is Park and Lake. I increased the budgeted amount for revenue and expenditures on events because with the events that we do, our previous budget document wasn't very accurate. It was showing in and out, but it wasn't a very accurate amount. So I've updated that. I increased the projected revenue for performance because we are doing well out there this year. Any questions on this one right now? And then page 19 is the last of the tax levied funds, and that is the special bridge fund. We pay for culverts and some salaries out of this fund.
Signs are not coming out of this fund then?
No, that comes out of the road and bridge department, out of the maintenance and sign line. What I did in the middle column, I did reduce the salaries for this year because we were not projected to spend the entire amount that we had budgeted because we were short-staffed, so. And we were short-staffed all of last year on this department, so. So, also, I didn't mention in the employee benefits, I did add a line in there, which is on page 14. I had added a line in there for KP&F. And the amount for the difference between KP&F and Capers is $287,000. I had that in there initially. I took it out on the revenue neutral version because, so that is, but I left the line there with the reference so that you at least know kind of projected cost on that.
No, the KPF, that's for difference for both
Yeah.
departments.
Right, so that would be for sheriff's office and ambulance department.
Revenue neutral year is not a good time to be talking about KP&F.
Unless we have some other kind of revenue that comes in.
Right, that's the thing,
There's
we
gotta,
gotta find another revenue stream. That's what we need to do.
so I have not done the transfer station budget yet. So that's one of the non-levied funds, which I will have for you guys to look at and talk about next week. But you do have a revenue neutral budget in front of you, so. If there's any guidance or anything you want to see changed or for next week, when we have another work session, I would love that feedback.
It's definitely gonna affect liquidity. That's for sure,
True.
especially in the general fund. It's not exactly where we wanna be, but, you know, the way property taxes are, we're trying,
Dickinson, Morris County, a couple of their commissioners said that they've voted revenue neutral as well, but it will cut into their cash reserves, just like it's been ours.
yeah.
We've got to find a different revenue stream other than taxpayers.
What city, which is City of Hudson or something, put the 1 cent sales tax to try to do it.
Well, I think that'll hurt us too.
Sales tax is so specific though, you gotta have exactly what you're gonna spend it on.
Well, people don't understand that they're gonna pay the sales tax on a vehicle wherever they live, so they go somewhere else and they'll buy the vehicle cheaper, and all it does is hurt your local vehicle.
Right, you're gonna pay it anyway.
But they don't see that up front. And all you did was hurt your local business.
Still pay it when you go register.
Right.
Are there any things that you wish that you knew as far as like, is there any kind of a comparison, or is there something that else that you need to see to be able to help you understand this document, or to make it to where it's easier for you to decide something? Or you just wanna take what I gave you, review it, and then come back next week?
I'm good with it. We got last year's budget sitting around somewhere, so I can see the numbers that didn't get played with.
I was trying to look at the big picture.
Either way, if you,
What would it do if we took a 2% budget cut across the board? I mean, we can throw a pencil at it, but I mean, is it gonna help us enough liquidity wise to do that? And then where can you, with most of the things that are essential service, how do you cut anymore?
Well, the thing is, departments don't typically, we really try hard not to spend the entire budget.
Right.
And so on that comparison sheet that shows this one, I mean, you can see where there've been cuts over time. And there are some areas, I guess, are you saying you just
Well,
want
it's
to reduce the spending in each department by 2% and add it to the cash in the department?
I think that's what.
Is that what you're talking
He
about?
was talking about
Probably, yeah.
liquidity.
Yeah.
Or are you talking about in specific funds?
Would a 2% cut really make a difference in the cash position?
So 2% of almost 15 million is what you're talking about across the whole thing.
I mean, yeah,
And a lot of these I already have kind of cut.
well,
So-
I know you have, I know you have.
What's 2% of the 17 million?
But I can bring
But
back.
the public needs to know that, that you have worked at it from that direction.
Right, and I haven't. I'm willing to bring back whatever you guys say. It's completely,
I don't know.
I want it to be how you want it.
Just rough numbering it. So if you're talking about 10 million, that's 200,000. You're talking 20 million, that's 400,000. So that spread, 200 to 400,000, doesn't satisfy your need for liquidity, then it ain't worth doing.
We kind of know what our expenses are on average monthly.
And they're increasing.
Well, why don't you take what I
This week,
gave you?
Diesel fuel's the highest it's been this year.
Right, and I'm a little concerned about what our budget is for, what I put in the budget for fuel next year too. I didn't really bump it.
It's up to another 1 cent just.
We don't know, yeah, those are just unknowns,
So I'll send what I gave you. There are notes in there. Consider the different things. If something comes up during the week that you want something different or you want additional information, I will work hard to get that for you, and then we'll talk about it again next week. And the version that I provide next week I will reduce all of the allocation requests to the same as this year. So that will actually add a little bit to the general fund cash balance.
$3,000.
Yeah, not a lot.
So we kind of give the employees a little pedal deal and we tie it to a manual generator to generator on
We'll make those little ones that go under your desk. Keeps you active, and you just tie a little generator there, and it was a DC inverted line. bring it back to an inverter, it costs more than any money they'll ever save.
We thank you for your efforts, especially through the difficult past time at this point.
Thank you. I will always do my best.
Thank you for doing all this.
Commission comments?
I've been asked by one of the Peabody council members exactly where we are on this ambulance station in Peabody, and I think they'd like some type of response if we could, as a commission, of where we are with that. They're catching a lot of feedback, probably on what their residents of the area are concerned with. How we would wanna address a response to Peabody Commission.
We can save the money up for it, or we'd have to finance it otherwise, if we went ahead.
But we can't staff it.
Yeah.
I mean, Mick's doing a great job keeping the staff he does right now. But if we don't figure out the
You don't wanna,
KPF, I don't know how he's gonna staff.
and that's just it. You don't want a new building sitting there and nobody to.
I was privileged to try to say what the whole commission's opinion is individually.
But it's not the opinion, it's just the way it is, it's
Well-
what it is.
They would like some type of response is what I got. Where we are, what we're thinking.
Anything else?
In talking with Mickey on that note, and right now the response time to Peabody is about 20 minutes.
A long time.
One of the questions is we like, if they're paying taxes in Peabody, if Newton or somebody's gotta come up and get them or have a quicker response time.
About this, maybe a quicker response time.
For a county this size, I don't think that is a super long response time for a county this size.
For a county this size, I don't think,
Really
I think it's a pretty good response time.
Right.
Um,
I'm 22 miles and it takes me more than 20 minutes. Of course, we're coming off of 7 miles of gravel road.
What's the response time, like average in Wichita, like to the away?
We looked in that one time,
Yeah.
when we were first going through this, and it was 20 to 30 minutes in some places in Wichita. I mean, it was a combination of things,
Well,
as
street
many ambulances as they got, it was not enough. And somebody was, out, they'd have to send somebody from the other side of town. Yeah, there was a lot of complications.
So if we're meeting what they're doing in a city, then I guess maybe it's not so bad.
I was just kinda asked if we would give them where we're at with that project.
I mean, the only way you're gonna get it down is to put ambulance stations every 10 miles. I mean, we're a big county. We just aren't.
Does the board have a response that they want to provide to the city as a board?
It's always been a goal of mine to put a station there, but gotta be realistic.
Are you talking from scratch or to buy a building that's an existing building?
Build a building. We got the acres there. But we've got some other deals to work out though. I mean, like I said, they got the KPF stuff has to be worked out. We can't fund that right now. How are you supposed to recruit people to even be in their facility?
The issue's recruiting, because EMS people move around.
And we'd have to up the budget by
Then you say even on your
1.46 mils.
last county round.
Just to handle
that was the
KPF.
main topic of every county that was there.
And then we'd have to up the budget by another 4 just to pay for the building. So
It's a hard nut.
So is the response of the board if basically it's still a goal and something that you're considering for the future, but because you're adopting a revenue neutral budget, that it will not be it's unlikely to occur in 2027?
I think you nailed it.
Does everybody feel comfortable with that?
I just didn't wanna make a response on just as me.
Yep.
Rod is the one that asked about it, which is new on the council down there, but he's taken.
Not just revenue neutral, in my opinion. It's until we can find a new revenue stream in this county.
So I just thought I'd bring that to us.
Anything else? Not, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
We turned 56.